topic regarding in the case of ethics. Last remaining topic, in the previous lecture we had discussed regarding the negligence. Now we will discuss today regarding the most important topic. It is a consent. What do you mean by consent? What are the types of consent? What is the rules and regulation to follow this type of consent? It is to be discussed here. And also we will discuss today regarding the brief introduction regarding the malingering. Now what do you mean by consent? It is a voluntary agreement or compliance or permission. Whenever there is some procedure that is to be followed on the patient, it is to be well informed to the patient and patient should be consented. So it is a voluntary agreement or compliance or permission. To be legally valid, it must be given after understanding what it is given for and what are the various risks involved. So consent should mention all information regarding the procedure as well as measure that is taken for the operation. This is all to be very well informed in the detail. Now what are the kinds of consent? There will be express consent as well as implied consent. Now implied consent in which patient is self-willingly examined by the doctor and there is no such consent is necessary. For example, doctor sitting in the OPD, patient come for the examination and raising the arm, his or her arm for the measurement of blood pressure or giving some intramuscular injection in which this is a patient has self-implied for the examination purpose. So it is known as implied consent. It is a consent which is not written, that is its existence is not expressly asserted, but nonetheless it is legally effective. Emergency in the case of comatose patient, mentally incompetent patient and intoxication patient raising arm for the blood pressure measurement for injection or OPD patient, it is to be in which there is a implied consent is necessary. Implied consent for injection, person has a raising the arm for the giving injection, it is known as implied consent. Now another type of consent in which consent is express. So it may be oral or it may be a written. So an express consent is a one in which terms of which are stated in the distinct and explicit language. It may be oral or the written. Majority of relatively minor examination or therapeutic procedure, oral consent is employed, but this should be preferably obtained in the presence of disinterested third party. Means oral consent should be taken in the presence of disinterested third party. For example, in the case of hospital, it is to be taken in the presence of nurse and not a person that is closely associated with the person in whom later testimony may be biased. So oral consent, wherever properly witnessed, it is as valid as written consent, but later has advantage of easy proof and the permanent form. Express consent, oral, it will be must in the all procedure with the disinterested third party. For example, here the photograph showing that doctor is taking the oral consent and in the presence of nurse informing the patient that sister will you consent to undergo blood test, stress ECG and echo, this sister will help you. So this is the showing in the case of photographs. Express consent, it is most in all major diagnostic as well as surgical procedure in which it is this will be the known as again the type it is known as informed consent. So informed consent implying understanding by the patient of nature of his condition, means what patient has suffered, patient has that disease, it is to be well aware of the existence of the disease, means the patient ko pata hona chahiye what patient is suffering from, the nature of his condition. Second one, the nature of the proposed treatment, what is the treatment modality available, whether the therapeutic or surgical. The alternative procedure, again risk and benefit of not applying surgical method, risk and benefit applying in the case of therapeutic method, this all should be properly informed to the patient. If the person is not receiving the treatment, then what is the risk that is to be involved? It is to be also informed to the patient, the relative chances of success or failure of both procedure so that he may accept or reject the procedure. All disclosure must be in the language of the patient. So these are the known as, we have informed the patient all his condition, that then it is known as informed written consent also. Full disclosure means we are giving all information regarding the disease, regarding the treatment modality available, and what we are choosing as a what is the advantage or disadvantage. If the person is not applying this treatment, then what is the risk, that we are informing the patient of all conditions. Then it is known as full disclosure, means we are not keeping secret of anything. So the fact which a doctor must disclose depend on the normal practice in his community and on the circumstances of the case. The doctor has to decide, after taking into consideration all aspects of patient's personality, physical and mental state, how much can be safely disclosed. This has to be decided by the doctor. The doctor need not disclose risk of which he himself is unaware. Therapeutic privilege means it is an exception to the full disclosure. Here, if the patient is suffering from the severe heart disease, we are not informing the patient that you are suffering from such a heart disease that may be a death of the patient, your death is occur. We are not informing this to the patient, but we are keeping such information secretly. So it is known as therapeutic privilege. It is an exception to the rule of full disclosure because sometimes full disclosure result in the frightening a patient who is already fearful or who is an emotionally disturbed individual. And the patient may refuse the treatment because sometimes full disclosure result in the frightening a patient who is already fearful. Presence of malignancy or unavoidable fatalism may not be disclosed. If the doctor feels the patient is not able to tolerate the knowledge, if possible, the physician should explain the risk to the patient's spouse or the next of kin. So, whenever there is a patient suffering from such a severe disease, then we are not able to disclosing all the disease condition to the patient, because there may be a chance that patient feared of the disease and may refuse to take the treatment. So this is known as full disclosure, means we are not giving such information. So it is known as therapeutic privilege. Again, therapeutic privilege and the privilege communication both are different. We have to keep the secrets of the patient, that we are taking the information from the patient. It is known as professional secrecy. When person suffering from severe infectious disease, that that disease is a communicable disease. In that cases, we are informing the health authority. So it is known as privilege communication. And full disclosure exception, it is a therapeutic privilege. So, in the case of this, the doctor informed the relative that though I have told him this is a simple surgery, I must tell you it is a major surgery. Inform refusal. After informing all the condition to the patient may have right to refuse the treatment. So we are taking also the consent that I have informed all the information to the patient, and patient is self-willingly refused to take the treatment. So it is known as informed refusal. Means a physician has a duty to disclose adequately and appropriate to the patient risk, possible consequence of refusal to undergo test or treatment. After understanding all the facts, the patient can refuse to submit to treatment or operation. It is known as informed refusal. Why we are taking the consent? Reason for the obtaining consent: to examine, treat or operate upon a patient without the consent, it is an assault in the law, even if it is beneficial and done in the good faith. The patient may recover damages also. Second one, if a doctor fails to give the required information to the patient before asking for his consent to a particular operation or treatment, he or she may be charged for the negligence. Now, what are the rules of consent? It is necessary for every medical examination. It is to be specific and it is not to be blank. Means a person is suffering, person come in the hospital and you are taking the consent in the blank paper, only stating the signing of the patient and using the such consent, it is invalid. So it is known as blanket consent is not, it is to be better avoided. you are taking the consent for the specific procedure, it is to be mentioned in the form. So oral consent should be obtained in the presence of disinterested third party, that is nurse, but it is not to be again important that in the presence of relative this consent should not be taken. Written consent should be in proper form and suitably drafted for the circumstances. It should include specific consent to the administration of a general anesthetic. Patient has been informed of the nature of the procedure, then signing done in the presence of other witness. Means patient's signature is there. Also, the witness signature is also present. Fourth one, any procedure that beyond routine physical examination, for example, operation, blood transfusion, etc., it should be required express consent, means oral or the written. The doctor should explain the object of the examination to the patient, and patient should be informed that the finding will be included in the medical report. Again, the rule of consent, it is a much more important that doctor should inform the patient that he has right to refuse to submit to examination. Patient has the right to refuse to treatment, and that the result may go against him. And if the person refuses, then he cannot do further procedure. So it is to be informed, and informed refusal should be taken. The consent, what are the criteria should be of the consent? It is to be free. It is to be voluntary. Means the person is given self-voluntary. Then again, whatever the content of the consent, it is to be clear. It is to be intelligent also. It is to be well informed. It is to be direct, and it is to be only to that person who is suffering from that disease. So it is to be personal. There should be no any undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation of the fact, compulsion, or any threat of physical injury or death of the patient or other consequences. Means we are taking the consent only in the presence of person should be in the voluntarily giving the such consent. There is no such under the influence of any threatening or fear. In the criminal cases, the victim cannot be examined without his or her consent. For example, in the case of victim of the rape, it is to be examination of such person. It is to be done only and only in the presence of when the person is giving victim is giving the consent. If the victim is not able to give the consent, then if it is below the 12 years, then parents' consent should be taken. If the victim is not giving the consent for the examination, then we are not able to perform such examination. The court also cannot force a person to get medically examined against his or her will. In cases of rape, the victim should not be examined without written consent. When the child, then consent of the guardian should be taken. In medical legal cases of pregnancy, delivery, abortion, the woman should not be examined without her consent. In every such examination, consent is necessary. Medical legal cases, consent is of informed written type. The subject also be informed that the finding of the examination may go against him and can be used as evidence in the court of law. Now, what are the exceptions in that cases? Means there is a consent in the examination is not necessary. It is, for example, section 53(1) CRPC. In that cases, examination of arrested accused person. Please note there is a word arrested accused person. The person is accused and it is to be arrested. So in that cases, consent of that person is not necessary in the examination. If the person is giving such consent, then it is well and good. But if it is not giving, but the person is not giving the consent, then it is to be forceful examination to be performed. The criteria is that in that cases, the requisition, police yadi, it is to be for not below the rank of sub-inspector of the police. Means minimum assist ASI or PSI requisition is required for the examination of such arrested accused person, in which person is not giving the consent. So examination of arrested accused is requested by the investigating officer not below the rank of sub-inspector of police who has reason to believe that the finding of the examination shall afford evidence as to the commission of an offence, and if such accused person refuses examination, reasonable force can be used and the person should be then examined. So it is known as section 53(1) CRPC. Section 53 CRPC 2 state that women should be examined under the supervision of the female registered medical practitioner. But if there is no such female registered medical practitioner, then the male can be male has authority to do the examination of that, but in that cases, it is to be examined in the presence of female nurse. Section 54 CRPC, an arrested person at his request may be examined by the doctor to detect evidence in his favor. Means sometimes the arrested accused person self-delivering, giving the consent that I want to do my examination. So in that case, section 54 CRPC is applied. In the arrested person at his request may be examined by a doctor to detect evidence in his favor. In cases of drunkenness, the person should not be examined and the blood, urine or breath should not be collected without his written consent. But again, if section 53 1 CRPC is applied, then we have to do further procedure. And that case is not only medical examination, the examination, the sample, blood, urine or breath, it is to be also to be collected. Prisoner can be treated forcibly without the consent in the interest of the society. There is a consent given for the committing a crime or committing an illegal act. Then, for example, doing the criminal abortion, then the consent is become itself invalid. Section 87 CRPC states that person above the 18 years of age can give valid consent to suffer any harm, which may result from an act not intended or not known to cause death or the grievous hurt, according to section 87 IPC. 88 IPC state that person can give valid consent to suffer any harm which may result from an act not intended or not known to cause death done in the good faith and for its benefit. For example, in the case of emergency, in which person is not giving the consent, but you are doing the such examination or the treatment in the presence of, in the good faith, then there is a section 88 IPC is applied. 89 IPC state that person below the 12 years of age cannot giving the examination. In that case is, we have to take the consent for the relative. The consent of the parent or the guardian should be taken. 89 IPC. Loco parentis. Loco parentis state that whenever there is an emergency involving the children, in which there is a parents or the guardian are not available, consent it is taken from the person in charge of the child. For example, in the case of picnic, school teacher giving the consent for the treating a child who becomes sick during a picnic, that is away from the hometown, or the consent of the headmaster of a residential school. Section 90 states that it is regarding the validity of the consent. 90. Consent that is given by person under the fear of injury or due to misunderstanding of a fact is not valid. Consent given by insane or intoxicated person who is unable to understand the nature and the consequence of that to which he gives the consent, it is to be invalid. So it is section 90 IPC is regarding the validity of the consent. Any harm that is caused to the person in the good faith, even without that person's consent, is not an offense in the circumstances such that person is impossible for that person to giving the consent in the circumstances. For example, in the case of person come in the emergency having the history of road traffic accident and person having the head injury, in that cases we have to, there is such necessary of the operation is required. So in that cases, doctor can do the procedure without the consent. But again, criteria is that there is a relative is not present. Again, there is a operation is help to benefit of the patient. So there is a impossible, then it is a section 92 IPC is applied. Section 93 IPC, that is the communication made in the good faith for the benefit of the person, it's not an offense if it causes a harm to that person to whom it is made. The doctor should inform reasonable to the patient about the nature, consequence, risk of the examination or the operation before taking the consent. There is a consent of the inmate of the hostel. There is if they are about 12 years, in that case, if the person residing, student residing in the hostel and they are above the 12 years, if they are having the suffering from any infection or any disease, then for the examination of such, there is the consent of the student is sufficient. But if they are below 12 years, then warden of the hostel consent is required. The nature of the illness of the patient should not be disclosed to any third party without the consent of the patient. Means we have to maintain such professional secrecy. But again, if the person suffering from the infectious disease, then there is no such professional secrecy is maintained. Then there is a rule of privileged communication applied. So there is a doctor has intended to spread that information to save the community. When an operation is made compulsory by the law, that is a vaccination, the law itself provides the consent. Consent is not a good defense in the case of professional negligence. For contraceptive sterilization, consent of both husband and the wife should be obtained. But in the case of MTP or in the case of any such in which there is the consent of the woman is required. Consent of the one spouse is not necessary for operation or the treatment of other. Husband has no right to refuse consent to any operation, including a gynecological operation, which is required to safeguard the health of his wife. The consent of the wife is enough. It is advisable to take the consent of the spouse whenever practicable, especially if the operation involves danger to the life or may destroy or limit sexual function or may result in the death of unborn child. It is unlawful to detain an adult person in the hospital against the will. If the person is not willing for the treatment, patient is not willing for the taking the treatment in the hospital, then patient should be relieved with the taking the consent, and this is known as discharge against medical advice, or DAMA, or it is known as LAMA, left against medical advice. If the patient demands discharge against medical, this should be recorded and the signature should be obtained. Living adult person about 12 years of age can give consent for donating one of his kidney, means according to transplantation of human organ. If individual give to donate his organ, then minimum age required it is about 18 years. The donor must be informed of the procedure involved and the possible risk. The consent should be taken in the presence of two or more witnesses. If any person has donated his eye to be used for the therapeutic purpose, after his death, the eye can be removed only with the consent of the guardian or the legal heir. If any person has donated his body to be used for the therapeutic or research purpose after his death, it is not binding on his spouse or the next of his kin. Means if the person is giving such consent before death, then there is a further procedure that to be followed. Pathological autopsy, there are two types of autopsy, medico-legal autopsy as well as pathological autopsy. In the case of pathological autopsy, there is a consent of the relative is required. Means there is no such legal law enforcement agency that is required to investigate the case. Only the doctor is performing the postmortem examination to such only the cause of death. There is no such legal formalities involved. Then it is known as pathological autopsy. But whenever we are performing the pathological autopsy, there is a consent of the relative is required. In the case of medico-legal autopsy, there is no such consent of the relative is required. Consent is to be, there is a summary, it is to be obtained from the following person for the examination in the treatment. For example, conscious, mentally sound person, children about 12 years of age, the spouse of the person who is undergo sterilization or abortion, the parent or the guardian of the child who is less than 12 years of age. Permission of the loco parentis may be obtained in the case of emergency. It should not be obtained in the case of, or it may not be obtained in the case of medical emergency, in case of notifiable disease, in case of member of the armed forces, handler of the food and dairy men, new admission to the prison, in case of person where court may order for the psychiatric examination or the treatment, and in the cases of special circumstances when section 53 CRPC is applied. So in that cases, consent is not to be obtained. Now, with this brief regarding the malingering, means the person taking the advantage of pretending himself that he or she is suffering from the illness, and by this he or she take the advantage of live. So malingering or shaming means a conscious plan, feigning or pretending a disease for the sake of gain. The disease may be feigned for the several reasons. For example, soldier use the malingering or the policeman to evade their duty. It is to be used by the prisoner to avoid hard work. It is to be used by the businessman to avoid business contract. It is to be used by the workman to claim compensation. It is to be used by the beggar to attract public sympathy also. It is to be used by the criminal to avoid legal responsibility. In all these cases, there will be malingering is involved. The disease that may be feigned are also may be dyspepsia, intestinal colic, diabetes, spitting of the blood, ulcer, burns, rheumatism, neurasthenia. aphasia, sciatica, vertigo, epilepsy, insanity, paralysis of limb, artificial fluids. These all will be in the case of malingering. So here I have completed about the medical law and ethics. Thank you, all of you.